and welcome to this live event on Academy of Scholarships and Transitions. Today we are streaming from our YouTube channel, and then we are expecting everyone to come join us right here on YouTube. And because we're on YouTube, we want to have a central community, a central conversation where we discuss the Commonwealth scholarship application process. You're welcome, and while you're joining, please just drop a message in the comment section. Let me know where you are joining from so that we know the audience we have, we know the speed at which we are going, and then everything else. So if you have joined us from anywhere in any part of the world, please let me know where you're joining from. Good evening, Evelyn. You're welcome to this particular live stream. So let's just know where we are joining from, and then we'll be starting very shortly because time is very critical today, and we don't want to play with it because it's very important that we stick to time. All right, if you have any friend who has not joined, please drop a message for the person, a reminder kind of, to let the person come in, join the stream, and then we can all have a good time together. This particular live stream is focused on the Commonwealth scholarship. And while we are waiting for others, I'll just begin to tell us that Commonwealth, okay, Evelyn is joining us from Benue State, Nigeria. You're welcome from the food basket of the country. Commonwealth has different categories of scholarships that they offer. And these scholarships are practically funded by the British government through the Commonwealth Foundation. And because these are scholarships funded by the government, you have them like in different categories. So there is the one that's open now, which is the Commonwealth Masters Scholarship. This is fully funded by Commonwealth. There is another category of Commonwealth scholarship that is called Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, CWS or so. There's a way they abbreviate it, but it's a shared scholarship, which means that in that category, Commonwealth takes a responsibility, a portion of the responsibility, and then the host institution, the university the person is intending to go to, takes the other parts of the responsibility. All right. Then there is another thing they call Commonwealth Fellowship. The Commonwealth Fellowship is mostly like, it's a different structure from the Commonwealth Scholarship that you know about. And then there is another class of scholarship by Commonwealth that is called Commonwealth Distance Learning Scholarship. You will see all of this if you go to the Commonwealth website after now. Someone is joining us all the way from Sierra Leone. Ruth, you are welcome to this particular live stream. By the way, what's the time now in Sierra Leone where you are? So the online one is for people who do not want to leave their countries. That's for working people, those who have like some responsibility, maybe in government, maybe in their place of work and all that. And because of their responsibility, they cannot just leave, travel out, and then go to some other place to study. But the one we want to focus on today is the Commonwealth Scholarship that is funded completely by Commonwealth itself. It's not a shared Commonwealth scholarship, although the discussions we're going to have today will also be relevant to any of those other forms of Commonwealth scholarship application. There will be differences here and there because if you are looking at the Commonwealth shared scholarship, the university has to nominate you, and then somehow you must have kind of gained admission into the university before they can start nominating you. In the one we are discussing today, those are not obtainable conditions. Now, I like to always start my scholarship discussions this way. First, I get to know the people, and then second, I love to motivate the people. Because if you're not motivated enough, then all the conversation we'll be having today will not be very relevant to you. But somebody who is very motivated will pay close attention to everything we'll be discussing about Commonwealth scholarship today. And once you pay close attention to the things we are discussing, you are improving your competitiveness and improving your chances of winning the scholarship. Myself, I am not under the Commonwealth scholarship, right? I have to put that out there. But I have applied for different scholarships. I have talked with people who are on different scholarships. And even today, just before this live stream, I was talking to somebody who is a Commonwealth scholar because I wanted to get clarity on certain conditions that I am going to be discussing with us today. Now, but I am on the PTDF scholarship, and over the years I've won different scholarships, and I understand how scholarship systems work. I understand how scholarship awarding institutions think. I understand the reasoning behind the award of scholarships. I understand the common mistakes that people make. By the way, I've been running Academy of Scholarships and Transitions since 2022, and you can imagine how many scholarship questions I have received, how many challenges of people I have seen in that process. So you are in safe hands, and then everything I'm going to tell you today, pay close attention to them. The number one reason why I want you to consider this scholarship very carefully is because the scholarship is a total package. A total package. And when I see a scholarship, I look at it from the perspective of what does this scholarship cover? Because I know that many of us from the African continent and from most of the other developing countries cannot afford to pay the actual cost of education in the United Kingdom. Now, Commonwealth, for instance, is going to cover the full cost of your tuition, regardless of the institution you go to, even if you are going to Cambridge, or you are going to Harvard, or you are going to Oxford, you are going any school. Well, Harvard, Harvard is in the US. So if you are going to Oxford, you are going to Cambridge, you are going to any of the schools within the UK, regardless of the cost of education, the Commonwealth will cover that cost of education for you. That's one thing. And to put this in perspective, there are universities in the UK where the cost of education is up to £28,000 per year. That means that if you come to take a master's degree in those kind of institutions, you will be coughing out £28,000. Now, let's do the maths and get it very clear. £1,000 at the moment is over 2 million naira. If you are from Nigeria, you will understand. You can convert it to your local currency and see how much money that is, and then do an estimate of how long it would take you to save up that amount of money to come and fund your education in the United Kingdom. So in Nigeria, 25 million will be 25,000 pounds will be 50 million naira. And on the average, I know that most Nigerians cannot afford that amount of savings to go do education. All right. Let me just drop a reminder for the people on Facebook. Then, the second part of what Commonwealth is going to do for you is that it takes off the entire burden of applying for visa. It takes off the entire burden of applying for visa. Now again, to put that in perspective, if you're applying for visa today, the cost of your visa is going to be somewhere around, say, give or take, like around £700, the cost of visa itself. Then, depending on how many years you're going to stay in the UK, you will pay something that is called health surcharge, health insurance. Basically, it's called health insurance. And that health insurance is over £1,000 per year. So if you are coming for a PhD where your visa is going to be a minimum of 3 years, that means you will be paying an additional £3,000. Commonwealth takes off that burden from you. That's why I call this kind of scholarships a total package. Then, in addition, the moment you move over to the UK and you start your studies, Commonwealth begins to pay you a stipend. And that stipend that Commonwealth pays you is somewhere in the range of £1,452 per month For master's degree students studying in schools that are outside the London metropolitan area, and then £1,781 for people who study within London. That's a lot of money, right? Because £1,000, remember, in Naira is 2 million. So you're looking at about 3 million Naira per month. Yes, a lot of people will argue that the cost of living in the UK is higher than the cost of living in Nigeria, which is true. But for most of the entry-level jobs that you can do in Nigeria, you will still have more savings studying in the UK under this kind of scholarships than you will be able to get as your net salary from most of the entry-level jobs, except maybe if you work for companies like ExxonMobil, you work for companies like Total Energies, you work for Shell, you work for even Schlumberger wouldn't even be as competitive. Maybe, I don't know what they pay now, but I know that back in the days, a graduate trainee at Schlumberger would get like around 500,000 Naira. Good money, but not comparable to what you'll be making as a student. In addition to all these monetary benefits, you are still going to be getting an additional degree for yourself, either a master's degree or a PhD. The other reason why you must apply for this scholarship is this. You see, a lot of all the scholarships that we have now that can open up from schools, from this, from that, will not allow you to bring your dependents to the UK on a taught master's degree. But the Commonwealth Scholarship lets you do that. Likewise, the Chevening Scholarship, because these scholarships are funded by an agency of the government. All right. Now, I want to explain this because I know that what discourages many people from applying for scholarships like Chevening, like Commonwealth, is the fact that they will be asked to go back to their countries after their education. That's to say, if you come under the Commonwealth Scholarship to the UK, at the completion of your master's degree or your PhD, you are expected to return back to your home country to contribute to the development of that country for a minimum of 2 years. However, your dependent is not the person who will be asked to go back. And because your dependent is not asked to go back, what it means is that your dependent can come with you. That's your husband or your wife, who is of working age, of course. The person comes over to the UK, and then in the process of your studies, that person can start applying for jobs that come with sponsorship. And then if the person secures that job, that person is no longer required to go back with you. And these are some of the things that you need to start taking very seriously from the moment you move into the UK as a Commonwealth or Chevening scholar. These are very important facts, and we needed to just get that stated very, very clearly. All right, someone just confirmed that the time in Sierra Leone is 18:04. That means Sierra Leone is 1 hour behind Nigeria. I can't remember that from my geography, but that's what it is, and we can see it in real time. All right, so let's do something. There's something I love to have people do when we are streaming live, and that is because it helps the live stream itself, so that we have more people coming into the live stream, and then we're able to reach a bigger audience with good information. Don't be afraid. The competition is massive, the competition is wide, but just pay attention to everything I'm going to discuss today. Follow them to the letter, and then you'll be able to secure yourself this scholarship. Now, first of all, please, if you are here, you've told us where you're joining from, or you have not let us know where you're joining from, tell us in the comment section. Just go to the comment section and type Commonwealth Scholarship. Just do that, Commonwealth Scholarship. Just write that for me in the comment section. It helps the live stream, and I'm being open to you on that. So just write it, Commonwealth Scholarship, and then let me know if you're applying for masters or you're applying for PhD. So you do Commonwealth Scholarship, either MSc or PhD by the side. Let's see what the audience pool also looks like. All right, so someone is saying Commonwealth Scholarship. That's Rain Post. Then who else is here? Gideon joined us from Uyo in Nigeria. Everybody who has joined us, you are all welcome. And please let me know in the comment section what category you are applying for just now. That will be helpful. I'll be tracking the charts on my computer, so sometimes I'll look down and then I'll be having the conversation with us with my phone. Now, what are the key requirements for the Commonwealth Scholarship? We've talked about the benefits, and now we want to talk about the key requirements. First of all, Evelyn is applying for MSc. Thank you for that. Reagan is applying for MSc. Gideon is applying for MSc. That's great. So we have like a higher concentration of the MSc applicants. Now, the first thing you need to understand is the website. And I'm going to lay emphasis on this because there's been questions on Facebook about I can't navigate through the website, I can't do this, I can't do this. So there is a statement by Commonwealth where they said that they had technical challenges with the website in the past few days. That means that if you've had challenges applying, then you are not just alone in that process. Commonwealth itself has put out a statement to confirm that they had challenges with the website. Maybe because of the volume of people applying, but I also think that it's because they modified the application system this year. That is, in my opinion, the most likely reason why these challenges have been there. But there's a promise that they are going to fix it, and they are in the process of fixing that website. So once they get the website fixed and everything comes back running again, then you are out there and ready to go. But when you go to that website of Commonwealth, that is, how is it spelled again? That's cscuk.fcdo.gov.uk, something like that. When you get into that website, there is something you will notice. And for some people, depending on how you are viewing it, if you are viewing from a laptop, it's going to show you apply directly on the top right corner of the website. And once you click on that apply, it takes you to the application portal. But again, if you are, before you just start applying, you need to pay attention to some of the details about the application. And those are the details I want to emphasize on just shortly. Then if you are looking at it from a mobile, it's going to be different for you, but you will always find a way to navigate through it if you know how to use websites. Now, you go to that website and then you look for a place where it lists the programs. It says scholarships and fellowships. If you are looking at it from a phone, you'll be able to see it. If you are looking at it from a computer, you'll also see it under About Us. On the phone, I think there's just like a three line somewhere that you click on and it shows you the programs. When you click on those programs, it shows you scholarships and fellowships. That's what you are focusing on. Then it goes on to show you development teams. Now, the education and fellowships is where, the scholarships and fellowships is where what you are looking for at the moment is. And you will find it under what is called programs. You click on programs for those who are applying for MSc. MSc is the first one, Master's Scholarship. Then you have the Shared Master's Scholarship, Distance Learning, Split Site PhD, Commonwealth Fellowship, Professional Fellowships. All of these things you will find on the website. Now, you click into any of them, like the Master's Fellowship, the Master's Scholarship, then it begins to give you more information, more details of the things that you need to know. I'm trying to point this out because in case you forget any of the things I'm going to say today, you can refer back to some of those places for a refresher, or again, go through the video a second time if you have the data to do that. The first thing you will see is an overview. We've talked about the overview. I'm not going to talk about it again. What the Commonwealth Scholarship stands for, who qualifies for it, and who does not qualify for it. Then the second thing you will see is how to apply. There are two things I need to emphasize here. When you come to the application system, the two things you need to notice is the deadline and the places that you are supposed to apply to. First of all, there is a deadline of October 14th. October 14th, 4 p.m. GMT, the application system will close and you will no longer be able to submit your application. And don't wait till that time is closed by, because the Commonwealth Scholarship application is a very rigorous process. It's very lengthy, it's very big. The information you will provide are many, the essays you will write are many. I know this because I have tried applying for the Commonwealth Scholarship in 2018. And even though I didn't go for the interview eventually because of some other factors, I understand how the application system looks. So don't wait till the time is up on you. Second thing you need to pay attention to is that Commonwealth itself clearly says that there are two groups of nominating agencies. All right? There are two groups of nominating agencies, and the nominating agencies are one, an agency of the government of your country. Very often that will be the Federal Ministry of Education or a branch of the Federal Ministry of Education in your country. I'm going to leave it at that, but for those who are applying from Nigeria, that agency is the Federal Scholarship Board. Their website is integrated into the website of the Ministry of Education in Nigeria. For people from Sierra Leone, from Ghana, from different places, you need to identify your own nominating agency, and you don't need to go searching for them. They are all listed on this Commonwealth application portal. Second, when you submit your application to the Commonwealth portal, this application that you submit here is not the only application you need to pay attention to, because sometimes the nominating agencies have their own application systems as well. Because what happens with Commonwealth is the nominating agencies will be the ones to nominate you. They do preliminary nomination or shortlisting of candidates from all the pool of applications. They're going to throw some out, pick out some, forward those ones to the Commonwealth Committee. And then the Commonwealth Committee will now do a further study of those shortlisted candidates, or a further analysis of the applications of those applicants, and screen out some other people. The people who remain at that point will be the awardees of the Commonwealth Scholarship this coming year. Now, the other thing, the application system is a bit modified this year, and it uses two-factor authentication. What this means is that every time you log into the application system, you will be required to provide authentication, either through a second email address or maybe through your phone or something. They are going to send you a code that you have to enter at every given point when you are re-entering into the application portal. These things are very important so you don't get them mixed up. So you're going to apply for the Commonwealth on their portal, and then also check with the nominating agency that you have chosen. Quite often, the deadline for submission with the nominating agencies within the countries are closer than the deadline for submission on the Commonwealth portal. So you need to take note of that. Find out now when the deadline is, and then start chasing that deadline. Aim to submit at least 1 week before the closure of the application portal. As much as possible, please try to work with that time. So the second group of nominating agencies will be some non-governmental organizations. Now, there is something I got to understand today, and I'm going to just pass it to us this is from a Commonwealth scholar. And the person told me something. She said that you could actually do two applications to two different nominating agencies. That is, if you apply to the Federal Scholarship Board in your country as a nominating agency, you can also reapply to another nominating agency, a non-governmental nominating agency. The application number has to be different, and probably you might have to use a second email. But what I would prefer that you do is to do your studies, do your analysis of your chances and the cost, the benefits and the disadvantages, and then focus on one first. Finish that one to the best of your details, and then you can consider the other one, or maybe not consider it. But this information is from a Commonwealth scholar, and according to her, that was what she did. And then eventually it was the nominating agency, the non-governmental, that she came through for the scholarship. Again, if you are somebody in education, for instance, and you're applying for the Commonwealth, and you are a woman or a lady, you should consider applying through the nominating agency for women in education in Africa. That could really be a very good one to go through. So all the people whose courses are aligned with the education faculty or improving education in any of the countries, I would encourage you to consider being nominated by that agency. That's it first on that particular scope. Now, the other thing that we need to look at today is every scholarship awarding institution has a particular thing that they are looking for. They have something that they are trying to chase. They have something that they are trying to support. They have something that they are trying to sponsor. In the case of a scholarship like PTDF, for instance, they are interested in supporting the energy industry. All right, capacity building for the energy industry. That's what PTDF is mostly about. And if you have ever applied for PTDF, you will realize that if you submit an application that has no relevance to the oil and gas industry or to the energy industry, that application would very often not fly. It would often be discounted. It would often be thrown away. But if you are applying for the Commonwealth scholarship and you carry an application that is for fossil fuel, anything oil and gas, coal mining, any of those kind of things, hydrocarbon, and submit to Commonwealth scholarship, you will automatically have disqualified yourself from the scholarship. This is because Commonwealth does not fund anything that is going to support the exploration for fossil fuel. It does not fund anything that supports the production of fossil fuel. It does not fund anything that supports the utilization or transportation of fossil fuel. I said exploration and exploration of fossil fuel, or exploration for fossil fuel, production of fossil fuel, transportation of fossil fuel, and utilization of fossil fuel. Anything within this category, forget about it. Commonwealth is not going to give you any funding. This is because Commonwealth has a group of teams, a group of areas, focus areas that they are interested in funding. The number one area is science and technology and development. If you are applying for the Commonwealth scholarship, your course has to be relevant either to science, technology, and for development. Science and technology for development. This is going to include everything: engineering, computer science, artificial intelligence, all those kind of stuff. Physics, chemistry, all of these are all in this particular subject area. The only engineering now that should not come into this place, and the only science that should not come into this place, are sciences like geology of oil and gas, chemistry of oil and gas engineering, all of those kind of courses. Forget about them for now, so long as Commonwealth scholarship is concerned. The other thing that Commonwealth is interested in is what they call improving population health, health systems and capacity. Anything health related, it could be medicine, public health, all of those kind of things, they come into this particular place. Now, there is another group of what they are looking out for. That is promoting innovation and entrepreneurship. If you are looking at anything that is going to either be innovative or promoting entrepreneurship studies, maybe inclusion of women in entrepreneurship, all of those kind of stuff, this is where you are. The key thing is this: there are other areas: strengthening peace, security, and governance, strengthening resilience and response to crisis. This is going to involve all the climate change responses and all that. Access, inclusion, and opportunity. All of these are the kind of things that you should reflect in your application. If your application goes off these 6 things, if you finish writing your SOP, your essays, and you cannot see any of these coming through in your essay, then that essay is likely not going to win you the Commonwealth scholarship. You need to pay attention to these things when you start applying. That's the framework within which your mind should be working. Now, let me give us some kind of tip, or some kind of what I would call, my teacher those days used to call it Opundential Expo. If you are applying and you are from the sciences, think of things that are relevant to renewable energy. Think about things that are relevant to controlling climate change. Think about things that are relevant to artificial intelligence. And think about things that are relevant to machine learning. This scope of things will always qualify in all of these kind of modern scholarships. The broader picture is, think about the details of the Millennium Development Goals of the United Nations. If you think about it in that framework, you will always get something that's going to be good, something that will be excellent and award-winning. But if you are in the health area, start thinking about things like pandemics. Start thinking about things like endemic, like some of these widespread diseases that you are trying to solve. The real thing is that Commonwealth is looking for something that can impact development in your country. And the way you impact development is not to repeat what is already happening. The way you impact development is to bring in something that is either not common in the place or find a new application for something that is already in the place. That's the way you start thinking about your application. This application, what is it going to solve? What I'm proposing to study, what will this help me to achieve? The reason it's important that you lay that foundation clearly from the beginning is because when you write your after education plan, then you are going to start looking at, they're going to start asking you for things like your 5 years plan after graduation, your long-term plan after graduation. And all of these things should tie themselves together. Because if you have a 5 years plan of, say, you studied, let's say, you took a course in crisis management or disaster management, and taking that course in disaster management, you finish from the course, you are looking at 5 years down the line, what impact can you make in your home country? So you go back to a country like, say, Ghana, and there's a place where there's been flooding, and that flooding has cost farmers their farmland, or that flooding has displaced some people. And you are looking at it like in your 5 years plan, you can't go back and fix all the erosion problems or the flooding problems because you don't have the resources to do that. But in the 5 years plan, you can start thinking about the sensitization or going back to Ghana to study the root cause of those things, to trace it back to where it is coming from, and then make recommendations to government in the 5 years picture. And then long term, for instance, you can start looking at maybe positioning yourself to be the minister of environment in your country or something like that that is bigger. But you can't wake up and tell the government that you want to become the minister for education or the minister for environment in your country within 5 years. There is an exception, of course. If you have had a lot of work experience before, then that could be your case. Say, for instance, you've been working in the government, you are somewhere close to the position of a director, and then you go apply for the Commonwealth scholarship, then your case of your story in the 5 years and long-term plans might change because, again, Commonwealth is not age restricted. Commonwealth does not, stop you from applying because you are 30 years or because you are 25 years. It doesn't stop you from doing that. Then I believe we are getting something from this. If we are getting something from this, let me know in the comment section. Just write, for those who have not told us where they joined us from, tell us where you are joining from. For those who have told us where they are joining from, if you are picking the lessons and from the tutorial, please just let me know in the comment section. Just say hello in the comment section and I will know that. Let's see. Who is following, who is understanding, who is... someone is saying, how can I invite someone? The way you invite somebody is just to copy the link of the live stream and post it to that person. You can post this on your WhatsApp. This is not a closed door group. You are free to share it. You are free to copy the link to this live event and share it. You can go to Facebook and share any of the videos I made today about the event because the link for joining are all there. You can always just invite anybody. Sir, please, I heard you say something about oil and gas relatively to whether the course aligns with the scholarship. Yes, please. I am an oil and gas person, right? My background is oil and gas. My first degree is oil and gas engineering. My second degree is oil and gas engineering, but I majored in drilling. And my PhD is in the field of oil and gas engineering, but well abandonment. Now, let me show you something. If you are applying for Commonwealth, the scope of the application does not cover oil and gas people. But there is a trick that I'm going to share with you now, because there are aspects that oil and gas people can fit into that also fit into some of this renewable energy something. For instance, carbon capture and carbon storage in depleted oil and gas reservoirs. This is something that any oil and gas person can understand, and any oil and gas person and anybody who is talking about renewable energy knows that carbon capture, carbon storage is the foundation of, what's it called again? Blue hydrogen generation. And blue hydrogen and green hydrogen are the hydrogen types that people are looking at as possible replacement for petrol in cars. So if you look at something like that, then you can make a case for yourself, but you will need to structure your statements and structure your essays around the relationship between that cause and how it is relevant to controlling climate change, and then how it is relevant to the energy transition. That's the point number one. Number two, you can look at the area like where my PhD is specializing in. It's well abandonment. That's decommissioning of oil and gas infrastructure. You can start looking at decommissioning of oil and gas infrastructure from a renewable perspective, or repurposing of oil and gas assets. All right? Repurposing of oil and gas assets. But if you are going to propose anything that has to do with exploration for oil and gas, I believe the person who is asking this question knows what exploration for oil and gas is. If you are going to be talking about anything that deals with production of oil and gas, or indeed any other fossil fuel like coal, or talking about transportation or utilization of any of these things, then that will not fly on the Commonwealth. I'm not making this up to scare anybody. It is written there on their own website. It's clearly written on their website. If you dig deeper, you will find it somewhere on the website of Commonwealth. So please, oil and gas people, know how you are going into it, know the area you are focusing on, know the pathway you are taking. You can come with us to the area of decommissioning, repurposing, CUCS, all those kind of aspects, but don't go to anything that is exploration, that is production, transportation, utilization of oil and gas. You don't need any of these, and Commonwealth is not going to fund it. That's the truth. I know it sounds like a disadvantage, but when PTDF was there, we were at an advantage position, and all the other people were trying to refine the application around what we already know. So that's the way it works. And then we can now go back to the conversation. Then the other thing you can do for me is on that comment section, you will see something like a red hat sign by the side of the comment section. All right? Please, you can tap on that red hat sign for as many times as possible during this live stream, but don't let it distract you. You can tap on it as many times as possible. It helps every live stream, whether it's on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok, anywhere you live stream. And this is a lesson for those of you who will be creating content in the future. Anywhere you live stream, please always ask the people to tap on that red hat sign. Somebody is doing it now. I don't know who the person is, but thank you so much for that. It helps the algorithm kind of, it tells the algorithm that what's happening here is relevant. The people who are there like it, and so the algorithm tries to bring in more people into it. All right, there will be time for question and answer. Let's not get too distracted into it. Oil and gas people had that advantage because myself, I'm an oil and gas engineer, and I wanted my people to clearly understand how they can also assess this scholarship. All right, going forward. Now, Commonwealth does not discriminate based on age, and Commonwealth does not require you to have secured admission somewhere. Some of these things are not the requirements. So Commonwealth does not discriminate based on age. Commonwealth does not require you to have secured admission at the point of application, but you must secure that admission at some point into a United Kingdom university, but not at the onset. The other conversation I was having with someone on the chat just this evening on Facebook was somebody saying that you must have your English language test of English exam or results to apply. That's generally not the case, and Commonwealth itself does not even state that that is the case. What they say is you don't need that IELTS or TOEFL to apply. Then they went on to warn that British universities often will require people to submit a test of English as a foreign language, IELTS very often. However, I want to also emphasize that even though the universities write these things on their website, you can reach out to them on a one-on-one basis and request for a waiver. All right, request for a waiver. When I was coming to the UK for my PhD, I was told to submit a test of English as a foreign language result. I did not submit it and I still came to the UK. Why did I not submit it? Because I had my youth service in the university setting where the language of instruction was English language. I had I had a B in English in WAEC. And then I had some papers that were published in English before my PhD during my master's degree. So I combined those three things and then sent it to the school as an argument for the fact that I understand English language. I can hold conversations in English language. I can understand lectures in English language, and I can write in English language. That was good enough for them to waive that requirement of me. So you can also do that. You know that this is your particular condition. You can get a letter from your school that says you studied in English before. You can get a letter from, you can show evidence that you've published before. You can get a letter from your workplace that English is the language of business and all of that. Submit that to the school and then you can get yourself a waiver. Take note of this and don't let any of these things scare you from applying. Now, eligibility. Who qualifies to apply for Commonwealth scholarship this year? First of all, the Commonwealth scholarship is a competitive merit-based scholarship. However, there is a mix of merits and a mix. It also says that candidates who are applying need to demonstrate that they cannot on their own fund their education in the United Kingdom. Then there is also that clause that says that this is for countries with low to middle income. That is, countries classified as low to middle income countries. This also tells you that Commonwealth has a place for need. However, the core emphasis is on merit. And as I always say, scholarships are won, scholarships are not given. You don't go for a scholarship competition thinking that they're going to dash you the scholarship. Even for the people who are disabled in one way or the other, there is still going to be a competition amongst that group of people. They have their own different class of competition based on the considerations for inclusion and all that, but it's still going to be competitive amongst them. It's not like a walk in the park where you just come and somebody dashes you scholarship and you take up the scholarship and move ahead. Scholarships are not given, scholarships are won. Academic performance in the past. Number two, they're going to rate the quality of recommendation that your recommenders have provided. That's to say, third-party evidence that you have certain kind of qualities that Commonwealth is interested in. Then the third thing they are going to rate is the potential impact of the study that you are proposing to come and study in the UK. Three different categories of things: your previous academic records, the quality of recommendations, and the potential impact of your proposed study on the development of your country. See, the Commonwealth is designed in such a way that it tries to kill selfishness and self-centeredness from people, if that makes sense to us. Commonwealth scholarship is designed in a way to inhibit selfishness and self-centeredness. That's why everything you do on the Commonwealth scholarship application, don't think so much about the benefit to you as a person. Think about the benefit to your country and to your community, or to maybe Africa. because you are being picked by Commonwealth to come and get this study, all the training they are going to provide for you, so that you can go back to your country and contribute to the development of your country. Now, some people will go to the application system and they are so self-focused, and all they are talking about is how the scholarship is going to help their life, how the scholarship is going to help them achieve their dream of studying abroad, how the scholarship is going to improve their earning potential in the future, how people in their country value British education, how they've heard about British universities for a very long time and they want to come and experience life in the UK or to experience the culture in the UK and all that. All of these kind of excuses, all of these kind of reasons are self-centered. Or we can even say they are selfish. But what Commonwealth wants you to do is, how will this study have an impact on the development of your community? Very, very critical. You are looking at the development of your country. How will your study contribute to the development of your country? These are the frameworks around which you write your SOP for this particular, or you write your essays for this particular scholarship application. Think about the community. Think less about yourself in terms of benefits. Think about yourself in terms of qualifying evidence of qualification. The reasons that you qualify. You think about yourself that in that particular case. But when you start thinking about impact, forget about yourself and start thinking about your community, start thinking about your country, start thinking about Africa. That's the way you should think about it, and that's what they want to see on your SOP, and that's the only way you win this particular scholarship. Now, I was talking about something. The Commonwealth, the way they structured it, you will see that they will tell you something, that when you write your essay should kind of reflect how your environment is motivating you to take that particular course. Now, this is very, very important also. How does your environment contribute to your motivation to study this particular course? And the reason is important is because if your environment is the motivation for studying something in climate change, then there is a big likelihood that when you go back to that country, there is a ready-made need that the knowledge you have gained from studying in the UK helps you to solve in that community. And that is you already contributing to the development of your community. Now, if you think about something that's a challenge within your country, in any of these areas that I've highlighted, science, technology for development, the area of health, the area of crisis management, policy, and policy and what's it called again? All those 6 things that I highlighted in the beginning. If you think about a problem in your country that falls under any of those categories and you can clearly see it, you can clearly define it, you can clearly propose a solution to it, then that should be the framework for your application. For instance, if I wanted to talk about, if you are from the Niger Delta, this is an example. If you are from any of the oil and gas producing environments, then your case study, for instance, could be CO2 pollution. If you come from Port Harcourt, this is like a classical example of what you can use. How CO2 pollution and all the black soot that was littered over Port Harcourt at some point, how all of these things the health implications, the hazard it could have caused the people, and all that, that story could be your narrative as the motivation for you choosing to do something that helps to control that trend and reverse that trend, or to capture that CO2 and store it underground. If you come from a farming society or a farming environment where you have now noticed growing up that the quality of food production in your place is declining, or that the number of farmers in your place is declining, and you are looking at something maybe around solving a problem that is related to food, then you can start thinking about, how do we solve this problem? The young people are definitely going to live for better life in the city because there are no industries around the localities. But how do we solve this problem of migration of young people from local places to towns, and how does that affect food production in your country, and how can you solve that particular problem? You know that food is becoming scarce, and maybe some of the things you used to eat as a child are becoming more expensive. That's something you can already start thinking about solving. You come from an environment where there is flooding, and flooding is packing away the farms as you are seeing them growing up. You are thinking about how can you propose a solution to this. You come to a particular environment where the quality of education is very poor, like in my village growing up, the quality of education was so poor. Then you can start thinking about, oh, I want to take something within the education space because you have it there. And then how do I solve this problem of poor education, poor quality education in my community? How does my study come back to solve that problem? If you think within these frameworks, I'm just giving examples, but you sit back, look at your community. If you are not fortunate enough to have lived in the village, for instance, think about the problem of Nigeria. Think about the problem of Sierra Leone. Think about the problem of Ghana. Any of those things within that particular space is something you can solve. For the people in tech and the people in sciences, it's always very easy to get something sorted because there will always be technology gaps in Africa. Or there has always been. Let's not say there will always be, because that will mean that we don't have hope for the future. There has always been a technology gap in Africa that you can feel and you can solve and you can talk about in this particular instance. It could be using technology to track products or track farm products along the road. It could be using technology to preserve food. It could be using technology to track, to improve security. Could be using technology to curb the problem of bribery and corruption. Any of those things, think about a problem that you go back to solve. Because when you apply from the problem-solving position, it becomes easier for you to answer all the subsequent questions that will follow, like your plan for the future, like the impact of your study, and all of those kind of things. These are all the things that you need. And this is the framework around which you'll be thinking. Now, I want to lay emphasis on something again. Your recommendation letter. When you look at the Commonwealth, there is a document they call, is it recommendation for scholars or something like that, or guideline for scholars or so, for applicants. When you read through that document, there is something they kept on, they emphasized there. When they talked about like a winning application, they will tell you something that a 5-line recommendation letter will likely not win you the Commonwealth scholarship, because the scope of what they want your recommender to address is big. And that's why I would say that for every one of you who is applying, go to that application system, read through it carefully. I think it's somewhere in supporting documents. Under supporting documents or so, let me just look through that and quote it very correctly, because you need to get that part very clearly. That has to be on point. There's a document called Advice for Applicants. There is something about recommendation letters that I'm trying to highlight. All right. Yes, I've seen it. Your recommendation letter has to touch on very critical areas, and this is not something a 5-liner would do. First of all, before it becomes accepted as a recommendation letter, it has to be written on a letter-headed paper. All right? On a letter-headed paper, from bearing the institution where the person works or the institution where the person lectures or any of those kind of things. But it must be written on a letter-headed paper. The second way to get a recommendation letter that is acceptable is that the person sends it to you as an email, and then you print that email or you save that email in the form of PDF. But that PDF has to show the details of the person. It has to be signed. It has to be the person's details of name, email address, maybe phone number has to be contained there. So the person has an undersigned signature on the email, and then you can see the email address of that person. Then you can print that out containing all of these things, and that will also be acceptable as a recommendation letter. But what should your recommendation letter contain? This is your responsibility to convince the people, to ensure that they have all these things highlighted on your recommendation letter. First, it must talk about how long the person has known you. 2, it must talk about the person's view of your ability for the proposed scholarship and the need for the particular subject you're going to study in the UK. So the person needs to talk about the fact that you can do it and that what you have said you want to do is relevant. The person has to talk about how long he or she has known you. And then the person has to provide information on how and to what extent the applicant has shown ability in terms of. Now, this is where the person kind of rates you. Your capacity to grasp concept and reason analytically. The person can say that in a classroom of 80, of where questions that had where concepts that demanded analytical thinking was taught, that you came out as the top best, or you came out in the top 3% or in the top 25% of the class. That is a way to rate you. So rating you is not to say that this person is good in analytical thinking. That's not a good enough rating to provide context. Ratings are better in context when the person can see how many people you are being rated against, or what quality of people you are being rated against. So you need to go through your recommendation letters, or you need to talk with your recommenders carefully to ensure that they are going to give you something that is as detailed, something that is comprehensive, and something that is encompassing. They must also mention your capacity for original thoughts. That is, you can sit down on your own, think about something, and execute it without copy-pasting. They also must talk about your motivation and perseverance to pursue, in achieving objectives. Like, well, this person had challenges at this point in pursuit of this goal, but the person was able to stay put and chase it till the end. Maybe where 5 other persons gave up or 2 other persons gave up along the line. Then they must also provide an assessment of your particular strengths and weaknesses, and the applicant's potential to make impact in their home country, any other general qualities which they consider would make you a good applicant. When they talk about your potential for impact, they can make reference back to your previous leadership or your previous volunteering and all of those things. Now, this is why whenever you talk about applying for scholarships, community service will always be an advantage. Volunteering will always be an advantage. Leadership will always be an advantage. And the leadership we are talking about here must not be is not necessarily political leadership. It can be leadership of a classroom, it can be leadership in a church setting, it can be leadership in the community, it can be leadership in any form, in any shape, or in anything. In fact, volunteering can include something that maybe you organize the tutorial for your classmates, you organized a tutorial for people in your community, you went for an outreach during your youth service, all those CDS outreaches that some of you did in your national service time. All of those things can go into volunteering and become a demonstration of the fact that this person has the capacity, the interest in developing his or her community. Pay attention to these things, so follow them to the letter. There is a reason why I am laying emphasis on each of these things. You remember I've not told you to ensure that your name is correct, because I believe you know that. I've not told you that, oh, the application portal looks this way or looks that way. I've not even mentioned that when you write your essays, you should use the STAR approach. I've not mentioned all of these things because these other things are the foundation that will help you win the scholarship. Most of the other people will jump into the application system and start trying to implement STAR approach. But they are implementing STAR approach on an oil and gas proposed study. Automatically, the person is losing out. But you are building the foundational understanding, because when you apply for any scholarship, what you need to do is put yourself in the place of the funder. Understand, ask yourself, if I'm the funder and this is what my interests are, will I let any other person bend my hand into funding what I am not interested in funding? If you are not going to do that, the Commonwealth is also not going to do that. And as those who applied for PTDF would have understood, PTDF will also not even do that, because there is a program, there is an interest, there is something they want to achieve, and achieving that is their core focus. If you go outside of it, then you miss out. That's on the quality of your recommendation letter. And once you have that recommendation letter properly done, you are in a good position to start applying. Then there is something that they do in the rating system. When they rate you in terms of your study, you're always going to be asked to tell them why you are choosing to study in the UK and why you are choosing that particular institution that you want to go to. Does this make sense to us? How many of us are still here? Let's know if we are picking it up. Are we getting the conversation as we are moving on? Are we getting the conversation? Someone is joining us all the way from Kenya. That is Abishai. Welcome to this particular event. EIJ and YDK. Someone said she can't hear me. Interesting. I didn't even notice. But can you all hear me now? Let me see. Can we hear me? Please, can someone just drop a message in the comment section? If you can hear me, just let me know. I want to know who is hearing me and who cannot hear me. Can we hear me? All right. Okay. So I see the messages. I think there was a time when a couple of calls tried to come into my phone, and because that's the disadvantage of doing these things on a mobile. But a call was coming in. I didn't expect it to interrupt this because I'm streaming from a Wi-Fi, but for some reason, probably that was the interruption at the time. If you missed any part of the conversation, please, you can draw my attention back to it and we can brush it up. But let's continue. So you know what your recommendation should include now. You know something about the framework within which you should think, how you should think about around the theme, how you should think about the benefits to your community and not to yourself, how you should think about a problem within your community or your country that you can solve, and all that and all that and all that. Now, let's talk about you and the reason why you are coming to the UK. Very often, when you ask people, why do you want to come and study in this country? They begin to tell you that, oh, the university is rated like #1 in the world, or is rated #3 in the world, or is rated #5, or is rated #12, or any of those kind of ratings. The truth of the matter is that if you just tell the UK people that the reason why you are applying for a scholarship to study in, say, Robert Gordon University is because the university is rated as #2, according to the people who grade the Commonwealth grading templates, they'll tell you that that's not enough. It's not enough reason for them to pay your fees in the UK. Now, what do? You need to think about it slightly differently. Don't just answer in like every other person would answer. If, for instance, I am going to apply for Commonwealth scholarship now, and you ask me why I am coming to a particular school to study, I'm not going to tell you about how the school is #1. You need to think again from the framework of how does studying in this school help you build the relevant network that is going to go back to your country and be useful. For instance, I can say that I want to come and study in a particular university. And I'm going to talk about how that university, what I know about that university and its capacity to deliver in my course. But that's not all. once you begin to mention and bring in that leg of you are coming here, the university provides you, like you have looked at this, the university's say international students network, or the spread of the university's international network, and then you can begin to see reasons for which you can come into that school, and how you can build a network of those international students, and how that network can help your country, or how the university has solved a particular problem that is unique to the kind of problem you are trying to solve, and how you can learn from the experience of the people in that school who solved that problem, or how that your course aligns with the main objective of that university. Because university ranking, and this is the reason why just mentioning university ranking will not be good enough, because university rankings are done not just on a course by course basis. They are ranked more or less from all the courses that the university is offering, all the programs they are offering, all the research, and every other thing. Sometimes the age, the quality of the alumni, every of these things comes into the ranking system. But a university can be ranking number 1 in the world and not be offering chemistry, or not offering, say, disaster management, or have no experience of disaster management as relates to Africa. All right. So maybe the disaster management knowledge they have is dealing with snow. They don't have any knowledge of dealing with harsh sun. They don't have any knowledge of dealing with flooding or any of those kind of things, because the rain in Europe actually is very, very light in most cases. But you can see a supervisor or a lecturer or a department in a school that has done something exceptionally good or exceptionally outstanding in the field that you want to study. That could be a very solid reason to present on why you are choosing the school. And then always relate that reason not to yourself, but to the benefit it brings to your country. You are the one going to build that network, but the benefit of the network should not be centered around you. Yes, you're going to get some benefits from it, but center the benefit of that network to the development of your country. When you do this and you're able to link and map those things to the university and then to the UK, of course, you will get all the things that you needed to get in the place. This is Academy of Scholarships and Transitions. If you are enjoying this particular section, just write Academy of Scholarships and Transitions in the comment section. Let's let's just get engaged before you sleep off, and then let's also help the live stream this way. All right, waiting for your comments while I drop a reminder on Facebook. Write Academy of Scholarships and Transitions in the comment section. Anyone typing that? Okay, so all the comments are, we can hear you, we can hear you. Good enough. I wish I could hear all of you as well, but no way, it's just my own voice almost cracking out here. All right, so let's continue. The guys who are, okay, thanks so much, Evelyn. Thanks so much, Gideon. Thanks so much, Mwadike, for that. These are people who are complying with instructions. They make the live stream more interesting. Guys, please, let's all comply. If we say type something, just type it. There's a way, you remember I promised that I'm going to teach us content creation, right? There's a way some of these things work. And if all of you should drop these comments now, 20 of us watching now, if all of us should tag Academy of Scholarships and Transitions, you will see how many people are going to start, how people are going to start trying to trip into it, because the algorithm senses that this place, activities are going on here, and people are interested in what is going on in the place. That's the way we'll help more people, and that's the way you help the platform by yourself. Okay, so that's it on how you narrate why you are choosing the school. Then the other thing that you must do, remember, I mentioned that this Commonwealth is it is merit-based, but they have a mixture of need in it. So you need to also highlight that. How do you show that you can't afford to study in the UK by yourself? A single line can do it. For instance, If you have just graduated and you have not started working, then you can refer to how your parents, maybe something like, give an idea of how much money your parents earn as salary, and compare that to the cost of education in the UK as evidence that you cannot afford to do this study by yourself. If you are the person who is working, you know your average salary, compare that with the amount of money I already mentioned. In the UK, it can be up to 56 million to study per year in terms of tuition. And this is outside of cost of living and all that. So you think of it that way and you convince the people along that line that you can't do this because of this, because of that, because of that. That's like a clear evidence. Remember, I've mentioned something repeatedly. These people like to see things in context. They like to be able to quantify things. And every time you write an essay and you are able to quantify things, it always comes out better. Now, this brings me to the essay writing mindset for scholarship applications. The essay writing mindset for scholarship applications. Whenever you write an essay, there is something that is called STAR approach. Does anybody here know what STAR approach is? I would expect that at least some persons know. STAR approach. Do you know what the STAR approach is? If you know what STAR approach is, tell me what STAR stands for. Somebody else tell me what what S stands for. Somebody else what T stands for. Somebody else what A stands for. Somebody else what R stands for. Let's do that in the comment section. STAR approach, what is S, what is T, what is A, what is R. In fact, in the most recent edition of it, there is a second R after the first R. I'm going to teach us the meaning of that second R today. But the traditional one, STAR approach, who knows the meaning? Just let us know what the meaning of STAR approach is in the comment section. All right, let's know who knows the meaning of STAR approach in the comment section. Anybody? Okay, somebody has said A means action. That's correct. A means action. Anybody telling us what S stands for? Anybody with what S stands for in the STAR approach? Tell us. S. Who knows? S stands for situation. That's correct. Anybody telling us what A and what R and T stands for? R, results. That's correct. Any other person telling us what T stands for? Okay. To save our time and not burn our data so much, T stands for task. This is the way this thing works. And I tell people that you can use the STAR approach to write any essay, whether the essay is futuristic or the essay is in the past. And when you write an essay, for instance, and you want to reflect on something, you are looking at the situation. The situation at this point is, for you, is two things. That S means two things. The situation at this point is the situation of you are applying for the Commonwealth scholarship. This is a situation you are in now. But the classical meaning of S, the situation in STAR, is the situation you found yourself in the past, or the situation that was existing in the past that you came into. For instance, you were appointed to be the class prefect of a particular classroom. And when you were appointed to be the class prefect of that classroom, the class was so chaotic that teachers were not even interested in coming to the class. Or teachers would come to the class, but they are not able to teach. All right? And if you now find yourself in that particular situation, that's the situation you met at the point you were appointed as a leader. That's your situation. In the STAR approach, you are going to describe that situation. And this is the way you say it. Something like, when I was appointed or when I was elected the leader of my class, the situation of the class or the class was in a chaotic circumstance where teachers were avoiding this class because of a few students who wouldn't let the teachers teach. For instance, you have described the situation you found yourself in. But you are thinking about situation as in the moment of what situation are you in at the moment? What are you applying for? Because that helps you pick the right examples of previous leadership. This is also relevant to those of you who will be applying for Chevening Scholarship. And note that Chevening Scholarship is also open, and most of the things I'm discussing now are applicable to Chevening. There are a few differences here and there, but most of the things are applicable. Chevening doesn't have PhD option, while Commonwealth has. So Chevening people will not submit a research proposal, and then Commonwealth people applying for PhD will submit a research proposal and all that kind of thing. But the situation is you are applying for a scholarship, and the situation you want to narrate is what was happening when you got into that environment in the past. Now, if you think about it, I'm going to talk about how you can use it in the future. Let's finish what the past means, looks like. Then the task, which is T. The task is you came into this particular situation, you met this class in this particular situation. It could be like you are a teacher. How did you correct? What did you set out to do? Yeah, what did you set out to do to be able to correct that thing? Or what did you set out to do to make it worse, for instance? That is the task you gave to yourself. It could be that the task was given to you by the principal of the school, or by anybody, or by the people who nominated you to lead them. That could be the task. The task is deliver for us a quiet classroom. That is the task. Or within a space of 2 years, we want to deliver a classroom that's quiet enough and evidence through 50% improvement in student performance. You see, I'm bringing in metrics. When you were talking about the situation, you talk about the class, the number of people in the class, or even the age group. That is metric, is a number. Say a class of, average age 15 years or average age 18 years. Class of 50 people, a class of 30 people, where a few students where 2% of the class was constantly failing, or 10% of the class was constantly failing, something like that. Situation described. Now, action or task. I want to change this by this period. There is a number to it, and that makes it smart as well. Then the actions you are going to take would be the steps that you will take towards controlling that situation. Remember that these things are not going to be like 1,000 word essays. And that's why you need to master how to condense words. Like, instead of using too many words to explain one thing, you find a way to modify your sentence structures and reduce the number of words that you are writing. There will always be a word count limit, and you must not exceed it. I nearly forgot this. Don't ever exceed the word count limit on any of your essays. I prefer to leave like 2. If I'm writing too much, I prefer to leave at least, I should have like maybe 2 words less than the word count that they gave. Preferably around 5 words less. Don't write too little, but don't write and overshoot the word count. If you overshoot it, you are shooting yourself on the foot. Then the actions, you outline them. Maybe in the first day, you are going to engage members of the class and speak to them. On the second day, you are going to bring an external person to come and speak to them. On the 5th day, you are going to show them the negative consequences of failing in school. On the 3rd day, you are going to show them this. On the 4th, you are going to show them this. Those are the actions that you've mapped out to follow. Again, there is a metric to it. First day, second day, first month, second month, third month, 1 year. Those are the things that make up your action. Now, the results will be the outcomes of all those actions that you've taken. You took action A, action B, action C, action E. What was the outcome of all those actions you took? Did it improve the situation? Did it worsen the situation? Did it make the situation better? Did it make the situation worse off? Sometimes the actions do not lead to the intended result, but where the action does not lead to the intended result, that's where the second R in STAR, which is the updated discussion of STAR approach, comes in. It is called review. So you had set out to achieve something, you started working on it, but in the process of time, you realize that your actions are not giving the results you expected. You go back and you review your plan, or you did not have the plan to review and re-implement, but when you are now writing about that situation, if something didn't go as you planned, in writing through the STAR approach, you also mention in retrospect, in review, why those things did not go the way they were supposed to go, and what could have happened differently if you had a longer time, or what recommendations you have for the person you're handing over to. That's the thing that adds up to what? The STAR approach. There was something I wanted to say. How you can use STAR approach futuristically. For all of you who are going to apply for Commonwealth scholarship, you will be tasked with showing them how you intend to contribute to the development of your country. Again, I would recommend that you use the STAR approach in writing that draft. Now, this is the way you now think of it. The situation in this case is no longer a situation you met in the past. It is a current situation of the problem of your country. The particular area of your country's economy or existence that you want to come back to and contribute to. In some countries, it will be corruption. In some countries, it will be flooding. In some places, it will be maybe a technology gap. It could be armed robbery. It could be anything you want to come back and fix. The current situation is you understanding that problem and being able to describe the problem as it is. Again, remember to quantify the problems you are discussing. In consulting, the bigger the problem, the easier it is to get the people to pay you. And with scholarship search, the bigger the problem you are intending to solve, the easier you have it getting a scholarship. Now, let me ask you this question. If you were Commonwealth and you are offering a scholarship and somebody says, oh, the situation now is that in my village where we have 200 people, there is a sickness that is threatening to kill 2% of the population of 200. And somebody else says, in my country of 250 million people, there is a sickness now that, if not controlled, is threatening to take the lives of 10% of my country in the next 3 years. Which of those people, and then I'm proposing to solve this one in my village, the other person is proposing to solve that other one in his country, who will you give that scholarship to? Let me see what your response is and see if we are getting the point of the message. Will you give the scholarship to the person who wants to solve a problem that will take that will affect 10% of a 200 people population, or the person who is solving a problem that will affect 10% of a 250 million population? Let's see. So this is the way we do it. Just write village or write country. If you write village, I know you are solving the 200 one. If you write country, I know you are solving the 250 million one. Let's see who is going to solve what in the comment. Who will award what in the comment section? Will you give it to the village or will you give it to the country? Let's see. I'm waiting. I don't know if the comments are updating in real time or if the video transmission is happening in real time, but I want to see who is going to, okay, 10% of 2 million. Let's see, country. Let's see, who else? Who else is going to solve which one? One person says, 2 people are saying, okay, 3 people are saying country. That means a majority of you understand the point I'm trying to make. So when you start describing that problem that you're going to solve, you think about what are the key metrics of this problem that will make somebody hear it and want to fund me to solve that problem. Number one, the number of people it is going to affect or the problem is affecting. Number two, the urgency of the problem. Number three, the difficulty of solving that problem. Number four, the potential impact on the economy of that country, or the potential impact of solving that problem on the economy of the country. I give you some typical examples now. If you come to, say, Nigeria, I use Nigeria as an example because that's the terrain I understand the most. Every other person from all the other countries, you can always adapt this mindset and think about your local situation. In Nigeria, there is a state called Benue State. And Benue State is, the motto of the state is food basket of the nation. food basket of the nation. Now, if anything happens to food production in Benue State, it's going to affect a number of states in Nigeria. It will affect Enugu State, it will affect Ebonyi State, it will affect Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, directly. It will affect many other places in Nigeria because that state is known to be the food basket of the nation. And if there is a problem that you have identified that is affecting food production in Benue State, when you report the impact of that food shortage or impact on food, you don't need to start thinking about locally don't think about it as a local problem of Benue State. There's somebody here from Benue. But don't think about it as a local problem of Benue State. You are thinking about it as a bigger problem of Benue and then all the other states that is fed through food from Benue. Because when you think about it as a Benue State problem, then you have a population that is small compared to when you think about it as a bigger problem of all the other states that are fed through Benue or by Benue. Is this making some sense to us? I'm using this as an example. Now, if you think about that's food, so you can quantify it. If you think about a sickness for those who are applying for help, if you are trying to solve, say, a problem that is related to something like Ebola, something like trying to make the country, safe from things like COVID and all that kind of thing, and then another person is trying to save the country from a sickness that is not life-threatening. Yeah, you know that you can imagine where the direction of attention and discussion would be. That's the way you want to think about it. Or you can start from your local community and then magnify the scope of that problem. Well, in my community, this happens, but people from my community travel a lot. A typical example will be COVID. When COVID started in Wuhan, the rest of the world did not close their borders early enough. And China has a good population. And there is a lot of travels happening between China and the rest of the world. And that was the easiest way to spread COVID. So if you come from a small state and there is a sickness in that small state or that small part of the world, that corner of your country, and you know that people from your country travel a lot, or people travel a lot into your country to pick up things and all that, then you can start thinking about how does magnify it as to see how the impact of that can be spread across the country and cause a national emergency. For instance, when Port Harcourt was saturated with the black suit problem, many of the people who lived in Port Harcourt faced that challenge. But being what I would call the oil and gas capital of Nigeria, for instance, many of us who worked in the oil and gas, one way or the other, were also impacted by that because we somehow would have visited Port Harcourt to do one project, to do one work or the other. That's always the case, and you can magnify it. It's no longer a Port Harcourt problem because this part of the world has people coming in from different parts of the country to work. And if this problem affects them, it can go on to spread across the country, and the country then does not have a standard tracking system to monitor the progress of all these people, or a standard, a well-decentralized health system that's going to take care of all these people. I spend time to give these examples so that it becomes as simple as possible for you to convince these people. This is what we did for PTDF. And already we have 4 people who won the PTDF scholarship. The point is, the bigger the problem, the need for the problem to be solved, the greater the impact, or the greater the impact of that solving that problem on the economy of the country, the easier it becomes to win funding for it. Another thing that I can tell us, if in Nigeria, for instance, we have a lot of land in Nigeria that nobody is using, and then you are going to think about, or we have in Nigeria, there is basically, you can grow crops all season, like around the year you can grow crops in Nigeria if you had like a good irrigation system. And then somebody is going to study something about irrigation, and the person is coming back to talk about it, to say, okay, this is how this is going to impact my country or development of my country. You come back to say, well, in Nigeria we have this, the land size is this, and we can grow crops all year round because we don't have any time when the temperature is too low for crops to grow. And then this percentage of land in Nigeria is not farmed, is not cultivated, maybe in my state, or you multiply it by an average to get maybe the total population in Nigeria. If you can't, there are times when you have the exact figure on the internet. There are times when you don't have the exact figure. You can, do estimates. And if we are able to master irrigation, we can come back and grow crops all year round. At the moment, maybe we are self-sufficient in, say, cassava, for instance, but we're only planting in one season, in the rainy season. So if we can replace or replicate the amount of the volume that we grow in the rainy season through my knowledge of irrigation, then we would be able to export that amount of cassava to the world. Now, you identify a part of the world that will be willing to buy the cassava and get an estimate figure of how much they buy, like 1 kilogram of cassava or 1 kilogram of processed gari or something like that, and then multiply that number. So you have the metric of the size of land, you have the metric of the planting seasons, you have the metric of the quantity you can produce, you have the metric of how much money you can make, and then that serves as immediate impact on the economy of the country. How urgently will that happen? Or how soon will that happen? It can happen as soon as within 5 years of your coming back, because you take maybe 1 year or 2 years to master the irrigation, to deploy or to convince the government on the irrigation project. And then the government takes like maybe two years to raise funds and implement. And by the 5th year, you might have a lot of things coming out of Nigeria. What else can you do to even make it more interesting? You now bring in the condemnation of oil and gas into it, that Nigeria is reliant on oil and gas. This would be a pathway of switching the country's economy from an oil-based economy to a crop-based or to an agriculture-based economy. This is, you see the picture? If you can see the map clearly in your head, let me know in the comment section. If you can see the map of how it is going, let us know in the comment section. All right, can you see the map of how these things are connecting? Let me know in the comment section. All right, I intend to finish this live stream by 9, usually, because these things always take like 2 hours to finish. And I want to take some of your questions by that time. What else am I supposed to discuss that I have not discussed? Did I miss anything? Let me see. Eligibility, I have discussed that part extensively. To be eligible for Commonwealth scholarship, you must be a citizen of a Commonwealth country or a refugee, have refugee status in any of the Commonwealth country, or be a British protected person. You must be permanent resident in a Commonwealth country, be available to start your academics by 2026 September. This means that even if you are in your final year now, you can apply for Commonwealth scholarship for a master's, so long as your transcript, your certificate will be ready and out before September next year. Tell all those your friends who are in their final year, they can apply. Then you must be unable to study in the UK without this scholarship. That means that you can't afford it by yourself. I discussed how you can present that. You must have a first class or a 2-1 or a lower second class degree and a relevant postgraduate qualification. I discussed this one before now. Then you must have provided all supporting documents. I also mentioned, I think I didn't mention this, but everybody should have got that in the midst of the conversation. Anything else? I have discussed the selection criteria and how it works. I think a few things on... somebody was asking about the essays and the personal statement. Yes, you have a personal statement, and that personal statement is your opportunity to give the selection panel a sense of who you are, and why you want the Commonwealth scholarship. It should also summarize how your personal background has encouraged you to want the scholarship and to solve that problem. I discussed this extensively. The number of phases that you need to write, I really don't know now, but because I have not assessed the full application portal, apart from the time I assessed it in 2018, I can't even remember the exact number, but Commonwealth essays are usually short. And again, they've said that they've modified the application portal, so I don't know what has changed exactly or that, but this information remains valid. Even if the essays change, they might change the scope of focus or maybe reduce the number of word counts that are supposed to write. But in the end, if you work with the framework we've given today, you will be very, very close to Commonwealth. It will be difficult for anybody to beat you on the Commonwealth scholarship application. Take it from me, and I know what I am saying. Then, okay, let me look at something. Okay, the feedback. This is just, I think we touched all of this, but in case you have need for, when you go to that website for application, there is something called advice for applicants. If you click on it, it will take you to, it will open a place that has another link to a document that is very, very relevant. All of you should read that document, internalize the content. It will help you. It contains like reviewers' feedbacks, the feedback of previous reviewers based on the applications that other people submitted, what makes an application stand out, and all that. You will find, what you will find there are things that I've explained today, but it will always help you to refresh your mind. Keep it open during your application process. Then the application form, I talked about that one as well. How the application form is now two-factor authenticated. And then the selection criteria, I talked about that. Quality of research proposal, candidates, academic merit, and potential impact. Those are the key things. And when you talk about impact, don't think about yourself. Think about the problem and the benefit, the reason why that problem needs to be solved. Very, very critical. Commonwealth only funds thought-based masters. They don't fund master's degree by research. But you really, like, as a Commonwealth scholar, I used to tell people that master's degree by research is the best for self-funded people. It's also good for people who are on scholarship if the scholarship permits it and the person wants a longer stay in the United Kingdom. But for Commonwealth, it allows you to bring your dependents, so you don't have that loss. All the benefits that come with master's degree by research, you can also still get them, except of course that your course is not going to be research based as much as the other ones. But that's what it is. It's just what it is, and you have to work with what the people are interested in working with. Then for children, it says if a scholar has children and is widowed, divorced, or single parent, child allowance of £622 per month for the first child, and then £154 for the second child. So if somebody has like 2-3 children, that's the kind of money that Commonwealth will give for the upkeep. Every other thing are things that we've discussed today. I may have missed 1 or 2 details here and there, but I want to go to the comment section, because usually on the comment section you find out what everybody is, what you missed, and what the people are interested in. So if you have followed us till this point, tell yourself in the comment section, I will make it. Just put it down there in the comment section that I will make it. This is Academy of Scholarships and Transitions, and I like to say that success is coming, and you prepare for your success and you get ready for your success, and when it does come, you'll be able to take advantage of it. This is time for question and answer. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section. But before that, right, I will make it. Teacher of numbers says, I will make it. I wish you the best, and I say amen to that. Hannah says, I will make it. I wish you the best, and amen to that. Everyone here, I believe you will all make it. And when you make it, don't forget to come and share your testimony with us. I will make it. That's Lucy. You're welcome, and I wish you the best, and amen to your prayers. Evelyn says, I will make it. I wish you the best, and amen to your prayers. We will make it. Now let's go over to question and answers. Did I miss anything that you wanted to gain clarity on? If there is something you want to know that you don't know, let us address those things just right now. Anything by anybody, let's address all the concerns just now. Questions. It would have been good to have the questions like you call in and talk, but I don't know how to do that on YouTube. On Facebook, I know that you can bring people up and then they talk with you. Please, the link. Oh, the link for application. All right, I will share it now. I'll share it now. So I will just share it directly to the link that takes you straight to the fellowship and scholarship part. So that it... Why is my comment not open? What's going on here? Okay. And please let me know in the comment. Let me see. The comment section on my phone on my computer seems a bit of locked, so I don't know why. And the phone is okay, so what so I asked a question while you were on. It is in the comment section. Oh, this comment section is there are a lot of comments here. If I think, can you just copy that question and repost it in the chats? Oh, okay, I think I can scroll up here. Following from Kenya, powerful session. Blessing, thank you for coming. Prince Egu, wow, thank you for the explanation on oil and gas. Please, sir, is that the... No, teacher of numbers said he asked a question. I'm looking for... Unfortunately, I can't find that question. Please copy it and repost it. Copy it and repost it. I can't see it. Then Evelyn says, I don't even know how to start writing the essay, sir, honestly speaking. I think the easiest way to start the essay is start the application process. Because the essays, when you see the question for the essay, think about it. And I can also say this, and I'll say this believing that we're all matured and we can make proper judgments on things. If you see your essay, for instance, and you know how to use ChatGPT, for instance, you can query ChatGPT to give you ideas of what you will write. But I say this, and I must add a disclaimer. If you don't know how to use ChatGPT, then don't complicate things for yourself. But if you know how to use ChatGPT, you can ask ChatGPT to say you are looking for technology, you are trying to apply for the science and technology development area. You can take that question to ChatGPT and ask it to identify relevant areas where science and technology, or how science and technology can have a developmental impact on my country. And your country is named Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Kenya, any of those. And then it will do an analysis of maybe your country and all that. give you suggestions that this can happen, this can happen. Then you can ask it to maybe quantify, give you an idea of the extent of the problem, and then always ask it to include the sources where it's taking those information from. The reason is because you are not going to copy what ChatGPT gave you to post on your application. If you do that, they will know that you used AI to do it, and that's going to kick you out of the application system. But when it gives you the sources, then you can cross validate the information, because you may not know the size of land in your village, for instance, but ChatGPT probably knows the area of your village in square meters, if that information has ever been published anywhere in the world. Or if you take, say, the map of Nigeria and put it there, you can calculate the land area of Nigeria and even give you the area of the states in terms of square meters. These are also information you can find even on Wikipedia. But it will give you an idea. Ask it for the source of that information, cross-validate, and then use that to start developing your framework on this basis that we've discussed today. That would be a good way to go if you are confused about where to start. But the best thing is just to start and see how the progress goes on. And the earlier the start, the better. Also, people can collaborate with themselves. In the days when I used to have a lot of time on my plate, I could do like review a couple of essays for people and all that. But this period till December is really, really, really busy for me. In fact, if not because I had promised this live stream, I'll still be in the university by now. Come back maybe like 9, come back like later than 9, and that kind of thing. But I'm really, really, really busy. So I can't make a promise of I'm going to do one-on-one or review somebody's application and all that. Yeah, but I think the live session would really, really be helpful. Somebody says, sir, I studied applied mathematics in the field of hydrodynamics. I want to apply for master's. I have passion for the energy industry. How can I tailor my BSc in maths to Commonwealth requirements? The thing is, BSc in maths is a STEM course. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Maths is a STEM course. And STEM is the foundation for artificial intelligence. And I don't know how much capacity you have with like programming or any of these things, but if you have any capacity in programming, then your knowledge of maths can be applied in anything. There is something called Bayesian model in statistics. I don't know if you know it. I'm not sure if this is taught at undergraduate level. Bayesian models, all these models that go like up, then they come down in statistics. And there is one part particularly that's called Markov chains. There is hidden Markov chains and hidden Markov model, HMM, and then there is a Markov model. These tools are mathematics, but they are used for predictive maintenance. You can use them to predict when an equipment will break down. Anybody who is not from engineering or tech now will be confused though. So you can use it in predictive maintenance to say that this engine, if you use it very well, you can tell somebody when the engine of their car will break down, or when the engine of their car needs to be maintained in order not to break down. If that is something you have capacity in, it's an area that can be applied to the energy industry. But when you say energy industry with Chevening or Commonwealth, be careful. Don't center it on oil and gas, because they will not fund anything that deals with oil and gas exploration, production, transportation, or utilization. But you can tailor it to the wind energy, any of the renewable energies. They are going to be very, very fine with that. That's like one of the areas I can think of immediately. But again, ChatGPT can also be very helpful here. So you tell ChatGPT that, oh, I have, just like you've written it like this, that I have interest in, I have this background, and I have interest in switching to, in your case, make it renewable energy, because if you make it fossil fuel driven energy, Commonwealth is not going to fund it. And then it's going to give you like different pathways, what you can study, what you cannot study, and all that and all that. The good thing is that in the UK, your master's doesn't necessarily need to be in the same area that you graduated from. Say, like you studied maths, you can find yourself in the UK. In fact, let's not go far. My friend, my colleague, who is doing PhD with us here, she studied, I think, industrial maths. She graduated from Covenant University. She came here, she did masters in, I think, oil and gas engineering. Now she's doing PhD in something, is it hydrogen power generation, something around hydrogen. But you can come from maths and do engineering in the UK. It's allowed. Yeah. Then somebody says, I've started my application, sir. Thank you for this advice. I almost make a mistake of applying, tailoring my application to the oil and gas development. Oil and gas development is a no for these people. They won't. Engineer Onyinyechi, thanks so much for this very inciting presentation. Oh, thanks so much for joining. Commonwealth Scholarship PhD. Somehow, we didn't even talk so much about the PhD. That was the part I nearly forgot. Commonwealth PhD. There is, all the things we've discussed are valid. But what you now need to do is that you have to translate all this conversation into your research proposal. That's one part. The other uniqueness of the PhD application is that your references are going to be a two-way system. You're going to get references from people who have worked with you or who are working with you now. And you must also reach out to 3 supervisors in the UK and secure the consent of at least 2 supervisors in the UK. Those supervisors will receive information about your application when you submit, and they will be asked to provide evidence that in support of your application. So for PhD, you need to understand that you are not only chasing your local referees, you are also chasing supervisors in the UK. And how do you get these supervisors? You go to the website of the school you are looking for, head down to the section that has the department you are looking for, and then find the staff of that department, look at their research interest, and see who can supervise you based on the people, based on their research interest. To confirm the research interest, you can look at their profile on the university's website. You can also look at their profile on Google Scholar. You will see what they've been publishing, what they've been writing about lately, and that should inform whether or not they can supervise your PhD. They're going to provide a feedback to Commonwealth. And then what else will be the difference? That's mainly the difference, the research proposal and the need to talk to supervisors who are already, who you must have reached out to. At the level of, this does not mean that you must have secured admission, no. But you must have gotten the consent of that supervisor to say that this work you're coming to do in the UK is valid, is reasonable, is doable, and it can be achieved. And then within this 3 years period, every research plan you're making for Commonwealth, tie it to 3 years, because that's what they want to see. All right, that's the difference for the PhD. Then PhD is 3 years. What else? Those are the key differences in the nature of the application. Every other thing remains practically the same. Gibson Greywise is saying, must you get admission before applying? No. This is Nwadike. You don't need to get admission before applying, but you must choose the schools that you're interested in applying for. And you must choose your course. It has to be 3 schools, 3 courses, 3 different courses, and based on your order of preference. And once you submit, you cannot edit it. It's not like with PTDF, for instance, you can apply for change of course. Like you can change your course even after winning the scholarship slightly, so long as you remain within that relevant area that they are sponsoring. But Commonwealth is not like that. Once you submit, you have submitted, you cannot change it. But you can provide your admission letter later than after you have submitted your application. You don't need admission letter to apply. You don't need IELTS to apply. You don't need, in fact, you don't even need to have graduated to apply for Commonwealth. If you are in your final year and you can get on an up-to-date transcript, and that transcript confirms that you are going to graduate before September 2026, you can use that transcript to apply for the Commonwealth scholarship. You must provide that evidence that you've graduated before you take up the scholarship, and you must provide evidence that you've secured admission before you gain the before you take up the scholarship. But at this point, it's not compulsory. You just need to know the schools, you know why you are going to the school, and then you know the way you are ranking the school. Or something like there's something I used to talk about in terms of how to select where you are going to stay and study, but time will not let us go into that. You may find it somewhere in one of the other videos or one of the posts I made on Facebook recently. So thanks for the wonderful session. Gibson is from Sierra Leone. I want to know how to search for universities offering masters in disability studies or special needs education. Simple, straightforward. Just go to Google and then type it, universities in the UK that offer masters in this area. Define it, put it on Google. Google will show you a number of universities. But as a person, I prefer to search with ChatGPT these days. Like I think I'm beginning to search more using ChatGPT than I'm searching using Google, because ChatGPT gives me like a direct answer. If I take this now to ChatGPT and can we still hear me? Okay. Let's see. There was a call coming into that phone just now. Can we hear me now? Okay. So there's no age limit for Commonwealth. And if I'm searching for something these days, I prefer to just search with ChatGPT. For instance, if I'm looking for a school that offers masters in a particular area, I'll go to ChatGPT and say, give me the top, or give me a list of 20 schools in the UK that offer a master's degree in this particular area, and include a direct link to their website that shows a direct link to the web page of this particular program on their university website. It's going to give it to you. You will see it. If it doesn't give it to you directly, ask it for further questions. But two ways: you either use Google to search, or use any of the AI tools like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Gemini, or Copilot. Any of these four should be able to give like an immediate direct answer. Somebody else is saying, please must this session video. Yes, the recorded session will remain on YouTube. I'm not going to delete it. It's always going to be there. You can look it up. You can go through it later. And if you have any questions, you can drop in the comment section of the video. Once in a while, I'll check and try to answer. Then I already started my application, and sir, the application stage is about 14. During the application, they asked about 3 segments, asking essays about what area we want to focus on in our home country. You see, this is somebody who has started, and this is what we have discussed extensively today. Because everything, like I said, if you approach this scholarship from a self-centered or selfish perspective, you will lose it. It's always about country, about community, about what you can do for the community. The only time you think about yourself is about your merits, the reasons why you merit it, like why you are qualified, what you have done, what you have done, what you have done. Again, I say something sometimes that people don't keep records, and when they don't keep records, they struggle to write good essays. So if you know that you've started forgetting some of the details, you better pick up the phone and start calling your friends to remind you what you did. To remind you what you did and all that and all that. Yeah, but 14 stages, it's Commonwealth is always going to be a long application system. But there's an advantage to it. Many of the people who start this application will not finish it. Mark this word. Many of the people who start the Commonwealth application will not finish it. They will run away and give up along the line because it's long. And sometimes they can't really follow up with it. Then please the video will be up online. I'm not going to delete it. Can I apply for gender studies for PhD in the Commonwealth? Yes, gender studies for PhD is valid because one of the themes is inclusion. Whenever inclusion comes in, gender studies should also come in there. But more like, how do I put it? Make that gender study more like, try to think of how does it really contribute to the development of your country. Is it gender study in terms of people just being self-aware? If somebody is self-aware, how does that help how can that translate into development of your country? That's the approach you need to start thinking of. So you can be looking at gender studies in terms of the impact of inequality in maybe inequality of access to a particular aspect of education on national development or something like a way. The way we built up this conversation today is a framework that makes it easy for you to answer the subsequent questions that follow down to your plans after the studies. If you take up a course that you will struggle to discuss your activities to drive impact after studies, then you are not doing yourself so much good. But yes, any PhD or any master's that falls within those 6 major themes, there is science and tech, there is that equality part, there is the other one that is it education, there is entrepreneurship, quite a number of them. There are 6. I don't have all of them up here in my head just now. But yeah, you can. Commonwealth, after applying for Commonwealth scholarship, at what point can we start applying for the university? You can in fact, there is no, you could have gotten the admission before the application for Commonwealth, but if you have not secured the admission now, I would say focus on the Commonwealth application itself. And the moment you submit your Commonwealth application, start applying for admission. All right, the moment you submit your Commonwealth application, start applying for admission to your chosen schools. Is there a place to select courses and schools of one's choice? Yes, there will always be on Commonwealth a place to select your course and a place to select the universities you prefer to go to. What is the age limit? There is no age limit, like I said before. What are these other questions? I think the questions are updating on my phone faster than on my computer. Do Commonwealth scholarship have target numbers per country or nominating agency? I believe they do, but I don't know that number, unfortunately. Can I apply for a second master's degree? Yes, you can apply for a second master's, but this is the disclaimer. Commonwealth prefers to sponsor first-time master's or first-time PhD. However, there is a place for people who want to do second master's or second PhDs, but the person has to explain why he has to do it, or why doing it, or how doing it will help you to drive the impact you want to drive in your country. You need to be able to explain that. If it is just for personal reasons, of I want to have 2 masters, or I want Japa, or I want to use it and taste life in the UK, no, they will not fund it. But if, for instance, you took a master's in, let's say you took a master's in oil and gas engineering before, and you now realize that exploration for oil and gas is causing climate change in your country. And in every time the conversation about climate change is held in your country, the people who are talking about or who are leading the conversation are people without science backgrounds. But you have an insider knowledge of oil and gas. You have an insider knowledge of the chemistry. You have an insider knowledge of how the oil and gas companies operate themselves. If they do sharp, they cut corners, you know. And you now want to go and study something about leading climate change policy in your country. You see, it makes sense because you are coming from something that they don't want to fund to something that they want to fund with a promise of with a promise that you have an insider knowledge that you can use to help progress the agenda of the Commonwealth when you go back to your country. You get that reasoning, right? Then another question, please, sir. I hope it's not like PTDL scholarship where only 3 people are picked from each state. I don't know exactly the number of people that Commonwealth picks, but if you have the option to compete for the country one, and you have for country nomination, and you can also compete through the non-governmental agency nominations. You will see the list of non-governmental there. The one I know clearly because that's the agency that nominated my friend is the what's their full name? Is it Fawaye or whatever they call them? Like it's association of, is it Association of Women or Association of African Women in Education, something like that. Association of African Women in Education. You will see it on the nominating agency, non-governmental. If you are a woman in education, you can go through those people for your nomination. Oh, I don't know how many people exactly they are going to select, but it's a competitive scholarship. And that's why you are attending this event, because many of the people who will apply for Commonwealth do not know what you now know in terms of how to approach the application. All right, that's it, and this was Academy of Scholarships and Transitions. I'm going to ask all of us for a favor. There are 17 of us here, and there is which one now? Which favor do I ask of you people? What would you prefer to do for me? Copy the link to this video and post it on your WhatsApp status, or write something about this live session today on Facebook and tag Academy of Scholarships and Transitions on Facebook. Which one would you prefer to do? Which one would you prefer to do for me? Would you like to write a post about this live event and tag Academy of Scholarships and Transitions on Facebook, or copy the link to this video and post on your WhatsApp status? There's another video that generally I like to encourage people to share. That's the video on I don't know if I can post it here. I don't know, but there's one video on this YouTube channel that's like, okay, yes, I think I can. Let me get it. So you can help me you can post the video on, you can post it on your WhatsApp status. That video, what I did on the video is unique, and ideally something I should charge money for, but I did it for free. This was last year. So last year we took out time to do 3 days straight of events, 3 days, 2 hours per day or 2 hours plus per day. On the first day, I took time to discuss scholarships, like everything that is called scholarship. And whenever anybody comes to me that he or she is looking for scholarships and doesn't know how to go about scholarships and all that, the first video I recommend that they go and watch is this video that I'm going to post here now. And there is nobody who watches that video till the end and does not become a mini expert on scholarship matters. That's how detailed it is. In fact, there were slides. There was a slide presentation. It's not like today when I'm just talking, because that one was a proper tutorial in terms of it was like a workshop. And this is the video. I'm going to post it now in the comment section. So if you take this video and post it on your WhatsApp status or a group that's your friends or WhatsApp group or class group where you know that people are looking for scholarship, you would have done those people a lot of good, because they will understand. And even you who is here, I will encourage you to watch this video as well, because the video touches things like Commonwealth, like Chevening, like PTDF, and it touches a special type of scholarship that many people are not really pursuing, which is the graduate assistantship scholarship. It talked about code emails and how to write them, talked about the requirements. We talked about the myths about scholarship, what is true and what is not true. We even talked about, did we? No, I think we introduced the concept of networking that day, but the full teaching on networking was on the third day of that event. So the first day was about scholarship. The second day was about writing SOP and writing CV. For those who are looking for jobs and those who are struggling with writing CVs, like if you go through it, the way you have STAR approach for writing essay, there's another one that I use for writing CV, or I teach for writing CV. I call it the 5W, the 5W strategy, where first is who, why, what, when, and all those things. But you will see a whole lot there. And then how to write CV, what should go into it, what should not go. That was on the second day. But the third day was networking. But this is the particular video that I would like any of you to share to anybody that is your friend. This video, this comment that I just posted now, if you copy that link, copy it now, because once the live session ends, you will struggle to find all these comments that are here. But if you take that video and post it anywhere, all the people who see it will be grateful to you. And if yourself, you watch that video and spend time on it, you can start a content creation around scholarships, like immediately. By the time you are done with it, you have enough information to create a Facebook page that teaches about scholarships. And if you are fortunate enough to spend time and have the data to go through the 3 days, the first day is scholarship, second day is SOP writing and CV writing, the third day is professional networking. I think when I even say the word professional networking, many people don't really understand it. But when I do that tutorial, there's a story I tell people, and it's that all the professional jobs I've done since I graduated came through a network. It had something, somehow, one way or the other to do with a network. And I mean, it's both in Nigeria and here in the UK. The job I used to do for an oil and gas exploration and production company had something to do with networking. I used to work for a management consulting firm, one of the top 3 management consulting firms that used to do a revenue of about $12 billion per year. And networking was still very critical to getting that job. So all of these things, sometimes people struggle with, they have graduated, there is no job. It's mainly because, of course, I understand the part that the economy of the country is not so good. But if you understand professional networking very well, and of course you pray to God and with the help of God, your pathway to a job becomes easier. Because when I teach professional networking, it's from the angle of you networking and you marketing yourself. That's why you would have seen a video somehow, if you are following me on Facebook, where I said that your education is not complete if you don't know networking and you don't know how to market yourself. Marketing yourself is part of what we talked about today. Like you saw me mention something like, the bigger the problem, the easier it is to get it solved or to get funding to solve it. You also heard me mention something about how, like the way you can narrate something in a way that gives a certain impact. I use Benue State, for example. If you talk about Benue, the problem, food problem in Benue as a Benue problem, then you are underreporting it. But if you want it to have impact and draw attention, you report it as a Nigerian problem and provide the statistics somehow behind. You must not have all the statistics, but the few you have can plot the lines and dot the T's. So every time we spend time to do all these things, I do the best I can to bring out everything. The link is not activated. Okay. That's interesting. Well, when you go to, if you go to this YouTube page here, I don't know why it's not activated. I don't know what YouTube is doing. But you can click on it. Is it clickable? Everybody here, is it clickable? Can you click on it? Is it clickable? Okay. So this is the way you will find it. If you just go back to, okay, let's make it simpler. I'm going to write a post about this live stream today on Facebook. And then in the comment section of that post, I will include the link to this video and include the link to the live stream itself. The one you are sharing, or you can share everything, but the one I would recommend that you share is the one about scholarships, because that one will give you it's the most relevant to almost everybody. Bachelor's degree people, masters, PhD, everybody is covered there, and it's easy to understand because there is a slide that follows it, so it's like self-explanatory and all that and all that. Okay, so that was it today, and yeah, the link, I'm going to include it on a post on Facebook. So I believe all of us here are following on Facebook. If you're not following, just look for Academy of Scholarships and Transitions. Keep to the promise or keep to the commitment. Just copy it and post just on your WhatsApp status or on your Facebook. You can write something about today's event, or copy that link and share it, and that will be good enough as thank you. Thank you so much for joining, and I want to be signing out now. Before that, I want to remind you that success is coming. I also want to remind you that this is a competitive process, but all the people who are coming to compete are not better qualified than yourself. Don't go there fearing. Don't start the application from a position of fear. Believe in yourself, believe in your story, believe in your capacity, and believe in your chances. Think about it, apply for it as if you are competing against the world, but view it from a position of faith that says you stand out even in the midst of a global competition. And this is the mindset you should carry into every scholarship application. Thanks so much for joining today. And this is me signing out today. Academy of Scholarships and Transitions. My name is Chukwu Emeka Augustine, and this live stream is for Academy of Scholarships and Transitions, where we teach professional networking, we teach about scholarships, we teach about professional development, and very soon we'll be raising a group of content creators that will be creating educative content. That is the next major project. If you're interested in creating content but you don't know how to go about it, then that program is going to be for you. But this is who we are today. The big picture is to raise content creators, help people win scholarships, help people win jobs, and help people start big businesses that will flourish and prosper. Every PhD should be able to translate into a business, and that thought process should start from your master's degree. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you on the next one. If not a live stream, you will see me in videos. Thanks so much for joining. Bye for now.